I didn't know Blumhouse made The Purge. I don't know why I didn't know that, but they did, I guess. That's cool. It just seems like one of those movies that it feels like a slightly higher budget than Blumhouse movies, but I guess not. So the movie starts with the security guard that would have been Markiplier if he had not been working on Iron Lung. He was going to play this scene, apparently. It is a security guard that's already working there before Mike gets there, and he's immediately trying to get into the vents. We get this fun shot that's a shadow of Foxy. It's only for a brief second, though. It's actually kind of hard to get this screenshot. And then we get the mask. This is probably, in my opinion, the biggest problem with the movie. This mask has no reason to exist. Like, everyone was trying to come up with ideas of why this mask exists in the movie. There isn't any. It's not explained. The guard, he just finds himself stuck in this after he gets cornered by, I think, Foxy. There's a hard cut, and then it jumps to this scene where this animatronic head is full of blenders and gears and chainsaws and whatnot. So yeah, this only exists to get like Saw movie fans into the theater seats, right? This wasn't for fans. I doubt that Scott even really wanted this in the movie. I know that all the decisions were ultimately his, but it doesn't feel like something he would want specifically. This feels like something he was made to concede on in order to make sure that the movie sold enough tickets, even though it probably would have been fine without it. It doesn't, maybe it generates agony for gathering remnant and all that kind of stuff, but it is not talked about in this film at all. It is also not particularly canonical in any way to any of the books or games. So he's trying to get out. He's pulling at this pin that's locking his wrist down. He's not successful though, and then the movie has this slow pan in on pictures on the wall that the children have drawn. And in center frame is the yellow bunny with 5 children. And then it transitions into the intro credits, where it does the, I want to say the 8-bit style graphics, like the Atari graphics that were in the FNaF 2 minigames. These are actually a lot more impressive graphics. This is like 16-bit, or like Commodore 64, I would say. This was another screenshot that was actually kind of hard to grab. It's only for a split second that it's like this, but we have the purple guy, except really looks blue on my monitor right now, putting on the bunny outfit. And then one by one, he starts luring the children away from the animatronics, waving his arms in the air like he just don't care. And then we get the very obviously evil stare with red eyes, little over the top, especially if it's trying to stay true to the graphical format here. I feel like this one was a little bit over the top. Probably wasn't necessary to get the point across that the bunny man is evil. And the movie starts with Mike waking up. You can see he has pills on his nightstand, a book, tape player. This screen I didn't quite catch when I was watching the movie, but then I spotted it as I was getting the screenshots here, where Mike is bringing Abby food, and Abby is laying in bed. It looks like she has like a thermometer in her mouth or something. So Abby is sick in that image. We'll talk about that more as we move on here. Mike goes to check on Abby, and Abby has made a fort in her bedroom that she's sleeping in. She likes forts. We'll learn that more as we watch the movie too. He's trying to convince her to eat things, and she doesn't want to come. So he says, whatever, and she throws a stuffed animal at him. Then it cuts to Mike has gone to work. He is eating with his coworker. They are security guards. He's showing his coworker this book on dream theory, which is like an idea that like everything that you've ever seen is locked in your brain somewhere as a memory. It's not like lost. You just have to be able to unlock it by putting yourself back in the moment. That's what he's trying to explain to him. His coworker wants to borrow the book, but he says no. Mike goes to the ice cream counter. I believe they're in some kind of mall. It seems like it's a mall. And we have the rainbow boss enemy that was in FNaF World. It's like the mascot for this brand here. And he goes up to the counter, and the worker there is immediately like, oh, do you want your special today, Mike? So he goes there a lot. But he notices out of the corner of his eye, this kid just standing in the middle of the mall, looking confused, looking lost. And then this guy runs up and grabs him. And he's kind of pulling him along pretty harshly. You can see that the kid is like sort of like tripping on himself. The man seems determined, so it looks like a kidnapping. And Mike chases him down and beats the absolute living hell out of him in the mall water fountain. But then Mike is at career counseling because he's been fired from his job because it actually was just the kid's dad. And there's I didn't grab a I didn't grab a screenshot of it, but there's a scene. It goes back to the moment, and the kid is screaming, "Dad, Dad," as Mike's beating the crap out of him. So Mike has issues, both mentally and doesn't have a job. So he goes in to talk to Steve Raglan, who is looking over his profile and is very unimpressed until he comes across Mike's last name, Schmidt, and suddenly he changes his tone from being totally dismissive to offering him a cup of coffee. Mike says no. Then Steve Raglan, does it say anything? Can we see this? W. Burrow, do not destroy. Probably not important. Anyway, that's the theorist in me popping out. Anyway, at this point, Steve says he does have one job, but the hours are bad and the pay is bad. And Mike's like, no, I can't do nights. The reason he can't do nights is because he's looking after Abby. It goes unsaid in the scene, but that's what I would assume his reasoning is there. But when Mike comes home, there's a notice of delinquency on payments on the door to his home. Inside the house, he has Max, who is, well, I guess that wouldn't make sense then of why he doesn't need nights if he has Max. But I guess the assumption is he might not always have Max. Anyway, Max is his babysitter to watch over Abby while he's away. But Max is very interested in definitely getting paid someday because she's watching QVC, and she says something like, I wish someone would buy me a ring. Just notice there's a DVD player on this TV. I think that's too soon. This is supposed to be Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and a lot of the stuff you can see, there's like only one cell phone in the movie. I guess it could be they're going with early 2000s, which then the DVD would make sense. I feel like DVD, I'm going to look it up here. So from what I can look up, they came out in like 1997, and they overtook VHS in 2003. So this is probably close enough to right, but you know, if Mike is poor, he might not have a DVD player TV. Just saying. Abby didn't come out of her room the whole time, is what Max tells him, and she hasn't eaten. He goes in there to try to convince her to eat once again. He can't convince her. She says that he's sitting on her imaginary friend, and Mike gives up again. So Abby has something going on where she's like not wanting to eat, some kind of mental issue perhaps. We'll see as we move on. But speaking of medical conditions, Mike is now taking his pills, which are in fact just sleeping pills. They're not for a medical condition of any kind. He puts his cassette player on, playing nature sounds. And up on the ceiling, he has a poster of Visit Nebraska stuck to the ceiling that he stares at to go to sleep. And then he falls asleep, and he's dreaming of this moment where his family was out camping. These trees look like they're like collapsed. Not sure it'd be the safest to like camp underneath some fallen trees, but maybe they're just growing. I wouldn't trust that though. That seems rough. So they're camping out in Nebraska. That's Mike's dad. That's Mike's mom. That's Mike. And then that's his little brother Garrett, who's running around with his toy plane. His dad's cooking burgers. They make a joke about putting tons of ketchup on their burgers to the point that it's more ketchup than burger. And they're laughing and having a good time. And the mom, when she's putting the ketchup down, spills the soda, which is just this highly detailed shot. I think they're trying to imply, you know, it's a strong memory of the moment, the soda spilling, because you can like see the suds and stuff forming on the wood. And it goes back to it every time we have the stream, because spoiler alert, we're going to be having the stream a lot. So the mom says, I need to go to the car and go get some paper towels. So she tells Mike to watch over his brother Garrett while she's away. Instead, Mike sees this frisbee get thrown and by another group of people who are playing nearby, and he runs to go get it. And when he looks back up from picking up the frisbee, he can't find his brother, so he starts running around looking for him, and then it transitions him to being an adult. And there's Garrett's in a stranger's car being driven away. You can see that the license plate is blacked out. I'm assuming because his memory can't remember it is the reasoning there. Not necessarily that the driver has a blacked out license plate, but he might. But he's in a hoodie, can't really see him in the reflection. And then he wakes up. Start of this day, they're at Abby's school. She's sitting alone at a table drawing still. Every time we've seen her, she's been drawing. And Mike is in a conversation with the teacher and his aunt. Let me get her name real quick. Aunt Jane is her name. And she is quite angry and putting on the show that's clearly over dramatized, talking about how Mike isn't fit to be Abby's caretaker, and talking about how he's lost his job now. Now we have the introduction of Doug, who is her lawyer. And she's like, I'm sorry that I have to do this, but I have to protect her. And she's like, Doug, Doug and Gia, because Doug's not really paying attention, and he pulls out the family court matter documents and gives them to Mike for a request to change child custody form. And then it skips a small amount of time, and then Mike is talking one-on-one with the teacher. I assume she's the teacher or principal. It's a little strange. I think he also calls her a doctor. So it's not really clear if she's the principal, the teacher, the doctor, possibly just a mix of all three. But she can tell that Jane is not really the right person to be taking care of Abby, and that Mike is the best person for it. But it's going to be hard for him to keep custody of the child, and one of the most important things he'll have to do is he needs to get a job again if he wants to be able to hold on to Abby. And then this is a good scene here, because in the background on the spelling words table, we have puppet, bear, bunny, fox, chick. So just some little Easter eggs back there. I think these were in a cutscene on one of the trailers, though, so not the most exciting find from the movie, because I already knew it was going to be there, but still, it's fun to see. Puppet is very interesting, because the puppet is not in this movie. Well, we'll get to it. So Mike's back at home, and he's staring at Steve Ragland's contact information. He's sitting with the old landline phone, and he eventually gives in and calls Steve about the security guard position. And we get this scene where it goes back and forth between what's currently happening with him going to the Freddy's location for the first time, and also stepping back to the phone call with Steve, as Steve's explaining what the job is and what the duties are. Basically, Steve is phone guy for this moment in time, explaining what the job entails. And then there's this really good scene where he has this really awkward laugh, which is sort of your first sign that maybe Steve, something's going on with Steve. This was also a small detail that I missed when I was watching the movie, but he actually has a note that has the directions of how to get to the location, which when you think about it makes a lot of sense, because this is the 90s or maybe early 2000s, and we don't have Google Maps to tell you where to go, so I actually have to have hand-printed notes explaining where to go. Oh, I don't miss those days. That sucked. But the location does have security cameras inside and out. Mike goes inside. Steve explains that the power in the location is really spotty, though. And if he has trouble with the electricity, he's going to have to turn the circuit breaker on and off. So Mike turns on the circuit breaker, and that lights up the whole building, including the billboard, Five Nights at Freddy's, and then Mike ends the phone call. Man, this phone is nasty. And then we have the classic Five Nights at Freddy's 1 setup, the small CRT TVs, the classic Celebrate poster, actually ripped straight from the game. That doesn't look like it's a recreation with the real animatronics that they made for the movie. That looks like that is just straight from the game. Mike looks around the room. He finds a tape with his name on it, as we can see here. Oh, that's Fritz, isn't it? I just realized that. I wasn't even thinking about it when I grabbed the screenshot. I was like, there's a name written behind there, so we can see that more than one person's been here. That's Fritz. You can see the TZ. Ooh, baby. We found something special. I wonder if even MatPat hasn't seen that. That's a very small detail, even though, we'll talk about that in a minute too. And the video is the Freddy security training video, which was the very first teaser trailer that we saw. It was basically just this video. I think in the teaser trailer is higher quality too, because in this one he's watching it on the CRT, so it's a little bit lower quality. She talks about the state-of-the-art animatronics. There's an endoskeleton there. And, she just explains what the building's like, and then it gets to this part where it shows the animatronics, and then the tape glitches out and stops playing. So Mike goes up to the main room of the building. The layout is not the same as in the first game. It is a different layout, but it still looks really cool. I like the stained glass characters. I feel like there's probably not actually enough seating here, with the amount of expense that goes into stained glass pictures and stuff and animatronics and stuff. You think they'd have to have a bigger seating area than this in order to pay for everything. Can we see anything on this menu? No. First animatronic Mike takes a look at is Bonnie, and then he just loses interest and goes back into the office and goes to sleep. So he's having the dream again. It gets to the same point where Garrett's being taken away by someone. But this time, the dream doesn't end there. He turns around and he sees 5 children. I'm not going to spend too much time on this scene because you've probably watched 10,000 different YouTubers pick this scene apart when it was from the trailer. Obviously, these are the ghost kids. They have gotten into Michael's mind. And then in real life, the intercom system starts making some bizarre noises. And Mike, he chases after the kids in his dream, and he trips on something, and when he trips on something in the dream, he falls to the floor in real life. That's it for night 1. He goes home. Max is here again, watching after Abby. He tells her that he will pay her back once he has more money. And then we get to this scene at this diner, Sparky's, which is a reference to Sparky the dog. The what do you call it when fans like make up a story about a game that's not real? I thought it had a term. Maybe I'm thinking of creepypasta, but it's not creepypasta. It's just Sparky the dog was a fan made up thing that was supposedly in FNaF 1 as a rare screen that you would see this dog animatronic. That's what that's a reference to, the shop. And then Matt Pat is in the movie. We were lied to. He said that he wasn't in the movie. He is in the movie. And he offers to we have Max here and Aunt Jane and Doug. And then this guy is Max's brother named Jeff. His name is Jeff. Yeah, Matt Pat's trying to serve them, and he's like, it's lunchtime. He's like, lunch is the most important meal of the day. And then Jeff's like, I thought that was supposed to be breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And Matt says, oh, that's just a theory. Also, Matt's character name in this is Ness, and that's on purpose because Scott was trolling him for the Sans' Ness theory. It's just pretty funny. Oh, there we go. There's a better picture of his name being Ness. So this is where we find out how evil Jane is. Jane's trying to get dirt on Mike in order to get custody of the child. I think it was in the last scene, I forgot to mention this, where Mike is talking to the doctor teacher lady. He says that Aunt Jane is only after the child support payments from the government that she would get from having custody of Abby. So she's trying to get dirt on Mike so that she can get custody of Abby. So she's asking Max if she found any evidence of child endangerment while she's been watching Abby. Max says no. So Aunt Jane is mad about that. So she says, no, I'm not going to pay you then because I was going to pay you to find evidence and you didn't find any. And so Jeff tries to talk her into doing something else to get Mike in trouble. And at this point, Doug is trying to get up because he's like, I shouldn't be listening to this because basically they're talking about breaking the law. But Aunt Jane's like, sit down, Doug. And Jeff's like, we could just kill him. Oh, hey, I forgot how many screenshots I had in the scene. So Jeff suggests we could just kill him, and Doug tries to stand up again because he doesn't want to hear this. And Jane's like, no, we can't kill him. So Jeff says, well, he has the new job at the security joint. If we break in, then he hasn't done his job. He'll get fired from his job, and then it'll be easier to get custody of Abby, but you have to pay us $1,000 to break into the place. And then Jane agrees, and she steals some, I was going to say napkins, but I think she's stealing sugar packets from the building, even though they didn't order anything to eat or anything. Just showing that she's a cheapskate. So the movie goes back to Mike, who's jumping on his bed. He's trying to pull the Nebraska picture off the ceiling. Abby walks in and asks him what he's doing. She's wearing his security jacket. Mike says it's no big deal, but he does need his jacket so he can go to work. Max shows up, and it moves on to night 2. We get another shadow shot of Foxy. The movie really likes doing these shots with Foxy, I think. Mike is asleep. This time he went all out. He has his sleeping pills. He has his tape recorder with the nature sounds, and he has his Nebraska poster posted up, and he's falling asleep in his chair. So at this point, it's clear that Mike is going to sleep this way on purpose because he's trying to remember the details that he's forgotten about the day that his brother went missing so he can try to find the man who did it. And this time, instead of chasing after the kids, he tries to talk them down, specifically the one that's Freddy. He doesn't know it's Freddy yet. Oh, I guess he does chase the kids after this. Well, he's trying to talk the kids down, and then I think they run again. But this time, he chases after the one that's Foxy, and before he can grab Foxy, the kid turns around and hits him, and he's cut. And then he wakes up, and all his monitors and stuff are glitching out. So he runs to the breaker box and resets it. Of note here is we have the "It's me" written on the mirror. That's one of those little Easter eggs. There's lots of little Easter eggs. I'm probably going to miss a lot too. We're not really going over every single Easter egg here or every single detail of the movie, summarizing and talking about how I feel about the movie. But on the monitors, he sees that a police officer has pulled up to the building and is trying to get his attention at the front door. He opens the front door, and it's Vanessa, who sees that she doesn't say it yet, but she sees that his arms hurt, and you can tell that maybe she doesn't really trust him that much, that he might not be up to anything good here. But he explains that he's the new security guard. Vanessa seems to know a lot about the place. She comes into the back room with him. She points out that she sees that his arm's cut. She helps him bandage it because she has EMT training. She talks to him about Freddy's and Says if has he seen anything strange happen yet, and how's he doing, and that most security guards don't stay here very long, that sort of stuff. And then she says, have you seen them? She's referring to the animatronics. She goes up to the front and hits the showtime button. And then we get our first good proper look at the animatronics. First Foxy rolls out, and then the main stage then the main stage opens up, and the animatronics are definitely the best thing about this movie. They did a really good job of getting them pretty much exactly right. Apparently Foxy is the only one that was actually an animatronic, like 100%, and the other ones are suits the actors are in, but the actors playing the animatronics are definitely doing a good job of it. You can kind of tell like why they went with these three being the ones that are suits and then Foxy being the animatronic, because of all Foxy's damage. You can see everything inside. So yeah, he definitely has to be an actual animatronic. But they start playing a classic 80s song. It's a really cool scene, really fun. And clearly Vanessa is enjoying it a lot too. She's really happy. She offers Mike to dance, and then Bonnie strums his guitar, and his guitar explodes with electricity and fries out the whole system, and it all shuts down. But Vanessa goes to the prize counter and gives Mike one of the toy badges to officially welcome him in as the security guard at Freddy's. Mike starts locking up, and then Vanessa rolls up to him one more time in her police car and tells him to really be careful about the place because Freddy's really isn't safe. He needs to stay alert. And then another shot that I missed while I was watching is Jeff is actually this was the part of the movie where I had to go to the bathroom. So I missed this part, but I did it strategically because I realized this was a part that was shown a lot in the trailer. So Jeff is watching them, gets out his phone. I think this is definitely like too new. Like before with the DVD player, we're like, okay, it could be the 90s. But the Razor, that was like 2002, 2004, right? Original mode, roller Razor, November 2004. So yeah, we're in like early to mid 2000s in order for him to have a phone like this, a cell phone like this. So it may not vibe with being early 90s like FNaF 1 was. So he calls Max, and he's brought his friends. The big guy is Hank, and the littler guy is Carl. They break in through a back door that Mike forgot to lock. Then we have this classic shot from the FNaF 1 game at the main stage with the three animatronics there. And then Bonnie's gone. The guys are bashing up the place. Their plan is to break everything they can, make a mess of the place, and steal anything they want so that the damage is maximized to Mike's employment potential. Stealing all the quarters from the machines. We have the Employee of the Month board, which has a bunch of YouTubers on it that have played the game. I only know Daco specifically myself out of this bunch. Then Carl is in the kitchen, and a bunch of these boxes fall over on their own. And then you hear something banging inside the freezer. Or actually, that might be an oven, like a commercial-sized oven. Probably for pizza, right? It'd be an oven. The freezer is its own room in the games, right? But anyway, another shot that's very easy to miss of Chica is walking in the background on the other side of the fan. But he opens up the oven. Why do they call it an oven if you out food? Sorry. Anyway, he opens it up and there's nothing in there. Then he opens up the other side and he sees the cupcake in there. He's pretty confused about that, and he looks back in again and the cupcake is gone. And then when he turns around one more time, he sees Chica with the cupcake. And then we start hearing a lot of screaming as it cuts to Hank, who's hearing all the screaming. And then he looks in through the side window and sees that Carl is getting his face chewed off by the cupcake. And then Chica gives him an angry side glance and we start hearing more screaming. Meanwhile, Jeff's about to smash up the security cameras when he sees Hank running like a bat out of hell and screaming like a little girl. Hank runs into a small closet. Max is checking her watch because she's realizing it's taking too long at this point. Hank is trying to turn the light on in the supply closet, and Bonnie's already in there. You see a small flash of him here. I barely managed to get the screenshot because it was so quick. And then Hank gets murdered in a nondescript way by Bonnie. Jeff comes to look for him, asking him if he's okay, and then the closet door opens and Bonnie walks out. And Jeff drops his crowbar and starts to run away. It's also worth noting that the footsteps of the animatronics are really good. They sound really heavy and intimidating. They're also huge. as they should be. So he runs for it. He goes to the security office first and tries to dial 911, but when he listens to the phone, there's only a bunch of children like laughing and screaming in the phone. And he looks at one of the security cameras, and it's Bonnie and Chica. And then Chica bends over, and we see that the cupcake is no longer on her plate. And he's like, oh shit. And then the cupcake is trying to get in through the vent. He blocks the vent off, tries to keep it shut. Eventually the cupcake stops trying to get in. And so he tries to sneak out of the security room and head for the exit, but the exit door won't open. And at the end of the hallway, again, another screenshot that was pretty hard to get because it was only there for an instant because this light bulb is glitching on and off. So they only get to see Foxy for a split second. And then the next second, he's right on top of him, which is pretty cool because it's super reminiscent of the first game, Foxy being so fast. And it cuts to Max walking into the building to check on him. First thing she hears is this little boy saying, follow me. She starts following after him. He takes her to this back room, which we haven't seen yet. There's a pile of animatronic parts here. And then again, this is Sparky the dog, the thing that the fans came up with. But it's like a suit for Sparky the dog, which is pretty funny. Empty. She looks around and she sees a Freddy suit here. And then she hears the little boy call out again, over here. So she's... This was a little dumb because she walks up to Freddy, gets on a chair and starts looking into his mouth. And then the hand reaches out. This was in the trailers. Most of this stuff was in the trailer of this scene. That's why I took the chance to go to the bathroom. I think I was back by this point, though, because I remember seeing the next part where she gets pulled into Freddy's mouth. And then, was that the Baidu 87? Was that the Baidu 87? She gets bit in half, and it cuts back to Mike and Abby. And Abby is still drawing more things. He asks her what she's drawing, and then offers her his security badge as a toy. She acts like she's not interested in it all, so he puts it in this drawer here. But then after he leaves to go to the back, she walks over to the drawer and opens it up. The drawer's kind of stuck, I think, so she pulls on it too hard, and it all comes falling out. And among the stuff that was in the drawer is the family court matter for the request to change child custody. She's really upset about having found it. She clearly doesn't want to be with Aunt Jane. She's like begging Mike to not let her be taken, which is also like one of the first times that she's talked more than just a few short words. So it's obviously like a big deal to her. And then as they're arguing about that, Vanessa comes up to the front door. Mike introduces Abby to Vanessa, and Vanessa's like, we need to talk. Vanessa explains how there was a break-in at Freddy's and that he had left the door unlocked. And she tells him about how she said to not go to sleep on the job, and that Freddy's is very dangerous. He has to be on alert. And she's like, why are you even doing this job anyway? It's too dangerous for you to be doing. And then Mike explains how he's the only caretaker for Abby, and also explains what happened to his family, that Garrett got kidnapped, and that's his fault, or he feels that it's his fault, and that after that, his parents broke up. And then I think he said, like, they stayed with the mom, and then the mom killed herself. I could be wrong on that. I can't remember. I apologize. But either way, Abby and Mike are all that's left. And you can kind of tell in this moment that perhaps Vanessa knows a little bit more about what's going on than it seems. She has a look on her face here when he talks about his brother Garrett. We'll get to that more later as well. But she tells him no more sleeping on the job. You need to be there for Abby. And she throws his sleeping meds into the, I don't want to call it a river. I wouldn't even say it's a creek. It seems like it's like a ditch. But this scene is kind of interesting. There's a house burned down here. I don't know really like what that's about. It's not mentioned or anything. And I didn't even realize it the first time I was watching the movie, but that house is burned down, which seems oddly specific. So there's some theory bait for you there. So Mike is on the phone trying to call Max, but Max is not answering the phone because she got bite of 2004 by Freddy earlier. So at that point, Mike realizes he's going to have to take Abby to Freddy's with him. He reminds her to just stay in the office with him and not to touch anything, not to go anywhere or do anything. She agrees, but she's very excited to be going to Freddy's. At this point, they get to the main room. And she's like, whoa, what happened in here? Which is a little surprising because, you know, she doesn't know what the condition of the building was to begin with. So it's odd that she would know that it's been destroyed. But yeah, she notices that it's been destroyed by the thugs from earlier. But he takes her to the back room and she set up another fort. Happens a few times. Looks like she's using the curtains from Pirate Cove, if I'm not mistaken. He tells her to stay in the room, go to sleep, and he goes to clean the building up. And it is worth noting that Steve Raglan did tell him that one of the jobs he has to do is clean the building. He tells him that's 2 jobs. We'll get to that later. But he gets it all cleaned up, and then he goes to sleep, even though Vanessa told him not to go to sleep anymore. And he has his cassette player and everything. Doesn't have the drugs, but still has a cassette player. And then Abby hears something call her name, and she follows the voice out into the main room again. Just want to make sure that, yeah, that's the main stage curtain. That's Foxy's Cove right there, but he doesn't have the stars and moons curtain like she made her fort out of. But in the first game, that's the curtain for Foxy's Cove, Pirate Cove. Meanwhile, Mike's having the dream again. He spots the kid, and I believe this one is Freddy, and he's trying to convince the kid that, did you see who took my brother away? Can you help me? And Freddy explains, what will you give us if we help you? And then he wakes up, and then he hears Abby screaming in the other room. It looks like for a moment that the animatronics are doing something to her. All four of them are there surrounding Abby. Mike grabs a chair to go beat up Freddy, but Freddy's very large and intimidating. And Abby says, it's fine, they were tickling me. Apparently they were just tickling her. That was making her scream like she was getting murdered. Yeah, Freddy doesn't like Mike at first, but then he calms down, and then Abby introduces him to all the animatronics. Chica gives Abby a wink, and then Mike thinks this is all very, very strange because we're like halfway into the movie, and this is the first time that Mike's actually seen the animatronics in person, so the pacing's a little odd, I think. But he's like, we need to go, Abby. And then Abby gives Bonnie a picture of a heart, and then they leave. And the animatronics are just standing out in the main room like that's not a big deal. Apparently they could do that the whole time, but they didn't come out until now, other than to kill the thugs. Abby sleeps on the car ride home. Mike is looking at her pictures at her desk, and he notices that one of the pictures is of the kids that he sees in his dream. I couldn't get a still screenshot of him just looking at this picture close up, so this is the best picture I could get. And so then Mike and her talk about what happened last night. He's like, so are those machines? And she's like, yeah, they're ghosts. They just don't beat around the bush about it, that she knows the kids' ghosts are in there, and the kids are her friends. She is eating for the first time, like ever. No, not ever. The first time that we've seen her eat, I think, because Mike was having trouble getting her to eat earlier. Now she wants even more food than what she's got. And then Mike's like, I need to ask them something. Will you be able to ask them something for me? And then he explains, like, you remember that we have a brother, right? Or we had a brother? He's like, I need to remember who took him, and I think the kids know, so you need to ask them. No shit, he actually gives her the picture. He's like, did you draw this? And that's the car taking the brother away. She's like, yeah, she knows, and she can ask her friends. So they go back, but Vanessa is already here. She's staring at the wall of pictures, specifically the one with the bunny man and the 5 children. Mike and Abby pull up, and Abby points out that Vanessa's here. Mike's like, I can't convince you to wait in the car, right? And she's like, no. So they go in, and Vanessa is very obviously surprised to see Abby there. And Abby goes straight up to the stage, and then Mike talks about how he knows they're alive, and he's like, you knew they were alive too, didn't you? And Vanessa's like, ghost children, so hard to believe. Abby talks about how she wants to make a fort, and Mike's like, I don't think you should be playing with these things. They could be dangerous. And Mike is like, Vanessa, what do you think? Instead of backing him up, Vanessa's like, I think we could use the tables. And so we have a cute scene of the animatronics moving furniture around in order to build a fort. Sometimes they're pretty good at it, like in this picture, and then other times Bonnie's trying to put a chair down and just drops it. And this was the best they could do. Then Abby's like, I don't think it's tall enough. And then there's a moment where Bonnie falls over, and he does a thumbs up to say he's okay. Then they're all in the fort. Just an amusing sight to see the animatronics being peaceful and just like laying with people. Then talking about it's a nice night, and then Abby's like, I think it's gonna rain. So he's like, we need a roof. And so Vanessa says, oh, I can go get a tarp from the back. And Mike says, I'll go with you. So they get up. Mike reminds her, hey, remember to ask the question, right? Mike follows Vanessa into the back rooms. The back rooms! Vanessa's looking around for things. So he tries to address again, like, you obviously know where everything is. You know more than seems normal, like what's going on. And he notices this weird doll animatronic in the back. It's like, what is that? And he starts reaching in to touch it, and she's like, don't touch it. She pushes a broom into it, and it snaps the broom in half. She's like, spring locks, they're dangerous. They could fail at any second. Then Mike's like, you knew this was here and you didn't tell me? This thing could have killed Abby. And she's just like being very evasive about it. And then Mike's getting mad. And eventually Vanessa turns around to yell at him and is like, you should not have brought her here. I wasn't the one who brought her here. You need to never bring her here again. And I just got an odd screenshot of Mike. And then as they're going back into the main room, Abby's walking onto the stage, and Vanessa screams out, "No, Abby!" And Abby strums Bonnie's guitar and electrocutes her, like how the guitar exploded on an earlier night on its own. But Abby wakes back up. Everyone's glad she's okay. But it's pretty obvious the place is dangerous. They leave for the morning again, and then Mike and Vanessa talk again, but this time's like, "Mike, don't bring her here again or I'll shoot you myself." Pretty over the top, and Abby's like, she seemed really mad. So Mike is on the phone. It seems at first like he might be trying to call Steve Ravlin to end his job. There's bacon on the skillet, and instead Aunt Jane comes over. That was apparently who he was talking on the phone. And then Abby's like, I hate you, because she knows that Aunt Jane wants to take her away, and Aunt Jane's like, well, that went well. And Abby runs to her room and starts marking out Mike's face on all the pictures she's drawn of him. And then Mike's like, I've got to go. Can you watch over Abby for me? It's like, sure, but when you get back, we need to talk. And he's like, whatever, and leaves. And then Mike goes to a pharmacy, and he's buying his sleeping pills again. And the pharmacist is like, you know what does it for me? There's some more milk and honey. And Mike just takes his drugs and runs. And the guy's like, what an asshole. It's actually pretty funny. Mike goes straight to Freddy's. It's the daytime. It's not his shift or anything. Goes back in the office, puts his headset in, takes the pills, and he's back in his dream again, but it's different this time. His parents are there, his brother is there, and they're sitting down to eat again, and they're playing, and then the kids show up behind them, and Freddy's like, you could have all this again. And Mike is just kind of shocked at what he's seeing, that Garrett's okay, and Garrett's like, we miss you, we love you. And his mom's like, come with us, Mike, you can be with us every night. And then Freddy says, you can have this dream every night, but you have to give us Abby. And then at first Mike says, very quietly says, yes. And then he has a memory of Abby waking up and smiling at him. Then Mike says, no, I don't want it. He starts yelling at the kids, but the kids have disappeared and run off giggling. Mike's like, I don't want it. And I got another good screenshot. But Mike is getting slashed up by the Foxy kid. And then this is that screenshot from the commercial where people are like, what's he looking at? Is he looking at a plane or something? No, he's in a dream. I always expected this was like something in a dream. And the Foxy kid cuts him like 3 times really good. And what's going on here is I don't think he can get up and wake up in real life because he's drugged. He's not just regular sleep. And he wakes up in the saw chair. This thing is back. Again, we don't know what it does. What we do know is that the animatronics put you here instead of stuffing you in a suit like they do in the games. It's very odd. Maybe they'll explain it in the future one that this thing is to cause agony in order to extract remnant from you. But that is not said in this one. It's just, to me, I think it's just a horror device to get the saw fans in, like I said before. So Mike's trying to get it to stop. He's trying to reach the buttons. And then get enough pictures here. But he is able to, he undoes the bolt that the other guy was working on getting loose. And then he reaches and is able to press the button and stop the device, and he jumps out of it. He lands on the ground. He realizes he's in a back room where he's not been before, and it's the room where all the people are dead from earlier. And he looks back and sees Max in a suit back there. I don't know whose suit that would be. It's a blue or it's a purple suit. I would assume Bonnie, because some versions of Bonnie are like a little bit more purple than others. But there's also the Sparky the dog outfit back there. I don't know who's in that one. The big guy, I guess, huh? Hank, I think, was the big guy. And then Jeff and I forget what this one was, who this guy's name was. But he sees all of them are dead back there. But as Mike is trying to get out of the building, he is hobbling, which means that the cuts the Foxy kid did in the dream are actually real cuts. And then he gets to the exit door, as people have done a couple times so far. And he's trying to get out, and then Foxy is at the end of the hallway like before. And Mike's like, no, and then it cuts. And Jane's trying to get Abby to come out of her room. She's like, well, you'll have to come out eventually, because Abby doesn't want to come out. Sits back down and is watching TV, and then Golden Freddy is in the room. Golden Freddy, ladies and gentlemen, everyone knows, but Golden Freddy was in the movie. It was in all the teasers, so not a surprise. I will say, kind of wanted to do final thoughts at the end of the show, but I will say I think they just showed too much in the teasers. I think they should have kept Golden Freddy a secret. I think they should have kept Springtrap a secret. Might be like, what, Springtrap? Or no, they haven't seen Springtrap. If you watch the trailer, Springtrap's in the trailer, so I'm not calling that a spoiler. This kid and the Freddy kid look really similar, but I think this is Golden Freddy. And Abby notices that Aunt Jane is knocked out on the floor in the other room, but she gets into the taxi with Golden Freddy. We have the cameo from Corey. It was, I forget what he says. He's like, always get the weirdos. By the way, Golden Freddy shouldn't fit in this car. I don't think there's any way his entire body is fitting in the car if that's how big his head is. But Mike wakes up, and he's been bandaged up, and he's on a trolley. Mike starts to panic about where he might be, but Vanessa shows up and says, relax, I took you to one of our first aid outposts and patched you up. Mike's like, I need to get back. And Vanessa's like, you really shouldn't go back there. I told you not to go back there again. And then Abby and Golden Freddy show up at the front door. It's kind of odd because the trailers really made it seem like Abby and Golden Freddy were going to be like best buds and stuff, but that is like not really what happens. Golden Freddy just takes her back to the front door. I don't know if I got a screenshot of her looking back, but she looks back at the front door and Golden Freddy's gone. So that was it. That was all of our appearances of Golden Freddy. It was just to get her back. And then we have the big reveal that her father is, oh yeah, Mike asks her like, okay, you need to come clean. How do you know so much about Freddy's? She's like, well, my father was William Afton, the owner of Freddy's. Wears the golden bunny suit, but Vanessa is holding his little brother's toy plane. And then Mike's like, you knew, didn't you? You knew this whole time. And she's like, I didn't know the whole time. I figured it out later, which I think, like I said before, I think she figured that out during the scene where they're talking next to the ditch. I believe is when she figured out that her dad killed his brother. And Abby's come back to be with her friends. And then Vanessa is getting Mike equipped to go deal with the animatronics because they want Abby. She's like, electricity will fry out their motors and stuff. And he's like, you should come with me, help me. And then Vanessa's like, no, I can't come with you. He might be there, and if he's there, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He can control the animatronics. So Mike goes alone. He knows about a back door in though, or maybe Vanessa tells him about the back way in. I can't remember which of those two, but he finds the back way in through a vent, and he sees that Chica is starting to take Abby away towards the back, and then he needs to hurry. So he gets out through the vent, and then Freddy thinks he sees him or hears him and starts looking for him, but stays on the stage, but is just looking back and forth to find him. Chica takes Abby into the back. Freddy eventually looks away, and Mike spills this giant tub of water from when he was cleaning before, and then he shoots it with the taser. I don't know why he shoots this with the taser instead of using his stun rod to electrocute the water. Seems like a waste of the taser to me, but that's what he does, and it fries out both Freddy and Bonnie. And then Chica takes Abby all the way to the back where they've gotten this doll has a name, by the way, because it's a doll from a book, but I don't remember what the name of this doll is. But Abby's like, I don't like that thing, Chica. And I agree, it's super creepy. Then Chica's eyes, her eyes glowing before? No. Chica's eyes are glowing, and she grabs Abby, and she starts screaming. Mike rushes to the back and is like, get your damn hands off her, you damn dirty ape. And then shoots her with the taser. Mike grabs Abby, and they start running for it. The same door that's always locked. I don't know why they would try this door, even though it's been locked like 4 times in this movie. But Mike falls down because he's been attacked by a really bad CGI cupcake. He drops his taser stick. He tells Abby to just run. Actually, I don't know why or how Abby got here. Based on the layout of what we've seen, they were heading for the exit door, but she ran into the main building. Maybe she tried the door and it was stuck. I don't think so though. But looking between the curtains is the little Foxy boy, and then he steps back, and then the real Foxy comes out with red glowing eyes. Mike is able to get to his taser stick and zap incredibly bad CGI cupcake. Like this CGI is really bad. Holy cow, it's bad. Hopefully they'll have a higher budget to do CGI stuff in the next movie, but definitely in this movie they should have really stuck to just the animatronics. They did a pretty, oh yeah, this was like the really bad look. Ugh, so terrible, man. Because the animatronics look fucking awesome. Like, look at this shot. It's amazing. But Abby is hiding behind arcade machines while Foxy's on the hunt. Abby accidentally bumps into a pinball machine, which turns it on and starts making a bunch of noise. Foxy comes over to look for her. See, the shots of the actual animatronics are really good. Like, Foxy looks badass in these scenes. But he looks at where she was. She's not there. She hides in the ball pit. Mike limps his way into the main room because remember, he's still hurt real bad from before, and now his leg's been chewed up by the cupcake. And I think the cupcake has like saw mass stuff inside of it because it was making kind of like a grinding noise when it was on the other dude's face. But that's when Mike starts hearing some really heavy, loud stomps behind him, and he turns around, and it's Springtrap. Oh my god, dude. I swear, if they had kept this secret and hadn't revealed Springtrap, I would have lost my shit. Instead, we knew, which is really sad. I would have loved to have been surprised by this. And then Springtrap comes out. They did a really good job making him sound like really big and scary. Then Mike pulls out his taser again and zaps Springtrap, but you just hear Springtrap laugh in a humanoid mechanical laugh, and it doesn't do anything, and Springtrap fucking yeets him, man. He yeets him. He charges into Mike with all he's got, and you can see the shirt there. Who could it be? Who could it possibly be? You don't know, bro. You don't know. And yeah, he freaking yeets Mike like 10 feet. So the animatronic suits are like friggin' power armor, man. They make you friggin' Iron Man. And Foxy is still looking for Abby. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I think I did. Foxy is the only like full animatronic. The other three are people in suits. But it still came out really well. Foxy looks straight down into the hole where she's at, but then Vanessa pulls her out. And then Foxy's laying on the ground. There's a taser stick there, so I assume that's what she did to take him out. And then Springtrap starts taunting Mike, and he's like, well. I couldn't have asked for anything better. First I killed your brother, and now I'm gonna kill you. And he friggin' kicks Mike and friggin' sends him flying again. And then Springtrap's like, wake up, my children, wake up. It's time to play. And then inexplicably the light flickers, and then Cupcake is standing up again. I kind of hate the Cupcake. I think they messed up with the Cupcake. But all the animatronics look like they've been smoking a little bit too much of the bush. You know what I mean? Springtrap takes out a big old kitchen knife. Probably not necessary, because he's beating the absolute shit out of Mike without a weapon. And he's about to kill Mike, and then Vanessa tells him to stop, or she'll shoot. Springtrap, see, like, you wouldn't shoot me. I'm your dad. You would never shoot me. And he takes off his mask. It's Steve Raglan. Whoever would have guessed? It wasn't like Matthew Lillard posted on Twitter like I always come back before the movie was out, right? I think at this moment the animatronics are just waiting. I don't think they're doing anything right now. But Abby runs over to Mike and is like, Mike, wake up, please help, Mike. And then just as Springtrap starts to approach Vanessa, she shoots him. It hits him and he's like, ah, but it also like deflects off. So again, the Springtrap suits, or all the animatronics for that matter, pretty much bulletproof. Then Mike wakes up enough to tell Abby the picture. You need to change the picture. You need to show your friends what really happened here. Then Springtrap recovers and rushes Vanessa down. I think he knocks the gun from her hand. I don't remember the specifics of what he tells her here, but he's like, you had one job. It's like to keep the security guards in the dark and to not get in the way. And she's like, that's 2 jobs, which Mike had told him earlier when he had been told that he has to keep the place safe. He has 1 job, and that's to keep the place safe and keep it clean. And that pisses him off. So he pushes her up against the claw machine here and is choking her out. Meanwhile, Abby goes to another machine to rip off an out of order sign so that she can start coloring a picture. And then Springtrap realizes what's happening. So he starts to go for Abby. Vanessa's like, no, and grabs his arm to stop him, and then he turns around and stabs her in the gut. He sort of seems to regret what he's done. Mike is bolting for it. Then Abby rips off the old picture and pins her new one on the wall. Steve Raglan's, or William Afton at this point, we can just call him William Afton, looks at the wall. Mike turns the lights on, which turns on a spotlight on the picture wall, conveniently, and it shows a picture of the bunny killing all the kids. And then suddenly the kids aren't so happy anymore, and the animatronics turn to face Afton. And Afton's like, you won't kill me. I made you. I created you. None of them are having any of his shit, though. Chica glares at him and unleashes the Cupcake, as Chica does. He bites out a big chunk of his outfit. Realize could be motion blur stuff happening. I think this is CG here. This looks like a slightly poor Photoshop edit when it's paused, which wouldn't be too surprising, in order to get a good shot of the spring locks failing and stabbing Steve in the gut. Rather painful, quite obviously, and they keep failing one by one. I thought they would like start beating them up and then more of them would fail, but it seems like all it took was just the Cupcake taking a bite out of him. And then he says, I always come back. And he puts the Springtrap helmet on. I also feel like it would have been good if the Springtrap suit in this was just the Golden Bonnie suit and that it wasn't already pretty torn up. Has he been shot before, by the way? People have noticed that like this side of his body is like more damaged than the other, and they thought it was burns probably. And this looks a lot like that, which is his new shot wound. Looks like he's been shot before. Anyway, puts the helmet on. The animatronics are staring him down with the infamous red eyes. It's kind of funny that everyone went ballistic over the red eyes, and literally they only have fully red eyes for this one scene at the end when they're watching William Afton die. Mike picks up Vanessa, even though he's arguably even in worse shape than she is. And then Foxy's dragging William Afton off as you can still hear spring locks failing. Stabbing him unexplainably, the building starts collapsing. And call the animatronics, drag them off. And then it moves on to the next day or the next week or something like that. And Abby is playing with friends now. She's not by herself. The teacher is saying she's doing much better now. I don't know what you've done, but keep it up. He says thanks. And then they're driving back home from school. And he's like, what do you want to eat tonight? Pizza or spaghetti? And she's like, I want both. Eventually they decide on spaghetti. And then Mike says, we have one more stop to make. And they stop at a hospital where Vanessa is in emergency care for the stab wound. And then they go home. On the wall is a picture of them recreating when they were all laying together. I don't think they're all in the same spots, but that's fine. It's a kid's drawing, you know. Is there a secret message in these letters, by the way? MOHTRXSU. I don't know. But they're eating the spaghetti. Oh, she did say with meatballs as part of the deal of what to eat. And there is meatballs in the spaghetti. She's like, do you think we'll ever see our friends again? And Mike is like, really? And he has the face of like, after all you've just been through, you want to see him again? And he's like, well, you never know. He makes a joke of like, do you think if you drink too much milk, you become a cow? And then it cuts back to the pizzeria where Freddy is watching Springtrap die in the back room, where spring locks are still failing. And he's doing the classic jerking around and stuff like the FNaF 3 trailer. I didn't get a picture of it, but the door closes. He's trapped in the room. And then it's roll credits. But two big things happen in the credits. Actually, I don't think I got pictures of both credits. No. So we'll stay on this credit screen because there's a small amount of credits, and then there's a mid-roll, and then there's final credits. But in the final credits, we start hearing my grandfather's clock start playing. You know the song? Da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And you start hearing the Atari voice from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. You know, the one that SAVETHEM, the save them one. Instead, this time it goes COMEFINDME. Come find me. So he's just clearly making a reference to FNaF 2 with the puppet specifically, because the grandfather's clock song is what plays out of the marionette's wind-up box. So yeah, FNaF 2 teasers, which would also include the another scene with Corey. He wakes up and in his passenger seat is Balloon Boy, just a little small toy. And I actually didn't get the screenshots of it, but there was two other Balloon Boy jump scares in the movie. Once when Mike opens up his locker in the building, and then I think when the thugs are breaking in, they open something and see a toy Balloon Boy in there. So maybe we'll see Balloon Boy in the FNaF 2 movie. Should I leave the screen on here while I do the final thoughts? I suppose so. So the FNaF movie, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I know the critics didn't like it. However, I do understand why the critics didn't like it. It's not one of those situations where it's like not understandable. I think if you don't know the lore, I think it's a bit hard to follow. And then even as people who do know the lore, it's getting all mixed up here, which probably wouldn't help someone new trying to learn, especially if they went in having read like a synopsis of the first game. They'd be like, what? I don't get it. This is not like the first game. But I think like the main thing that they didn't like is like the pacing, I think, is pretty bad in the start of the movie. Like I said earlier, Mike doesn't come face to face with the animatronics until night 4. And it's like, what? Or no, I guess he sees them at the end of night 3. Yeah, he sees them at the end of night 3. So halfway into the movie is when Mike gets his first interaction with them. I think they could have cut out like the thugs breaking in and some of the Aunt Jane stuff in order to have Mike interact more directly with the animatronics. Night 3 easily could have been like the end of night 1. And then the pacing wouldn't have been so heavily put into the back, because like everything big that happens in the last night, and it should have been boiling over time, I think. But I do think the animatronics look great, both Foxy and the suits. They did a fantastic job with those. They look spot on to the video game incarnations. But, you know, look at like the Mario movie and look at like how much they've adjusted the canon characters in that movie. Getting the characters spot on, it's not something Hollywood likes to do. And I guess Blumhouse being smaller and it being very heavily, I want to say directed by, but I'd say it's even more than just directed by. I think he was pretty heavy-handed in his supervision of the show. Scott Cawthon probably also helped keep it very accurate. And then it's also one of those things where, like, if you're too obsessed with canon, you might not enjoy it either, because it is all mixed up. It's like the books, right? Where the books loosely follow canon events, but also stuff's all mixed up. That's what's happening here as well. Especially, you know, we got Vanessa from Security Breach turning into William Afton's daughter. And what seems like This gets into a theory. Matt Pat already did a theory on this one. I was a little bit slow in getting this finished. That Garrett's soul is maybe in the puppet would be our guess. I think that's a pretty fair guess considering the teaser at the end and Mike never actually finding out what happened to his brother after being so obsessed with it the whole movie. And then yeah, I think they shot themselves in the foot by revealing Springtrap and revealing Golden Freddy in the trailers. Golden Freddy mostly because he didn't really have anything to do with anything, and it made it really seem like he was gonna be the buddy cop movie with Abby basically, but no, he doesn't have anything to do with anything. And then Springtrap, oh man, that would have been like such a good reveal. Like we knew that William Afton was probably gonna be in it, that Steve Raglan was William Afton. Man, it would have been so good to not know he was gonna show up in Springtrap. That would have blown my mind, man. It would have been so good. Maybe those of you who didn't watch the trailers got to enjoy that moment, because that would have been really cool. But alas. And then yeah, we have Springtrap dying in the back room in this movie, FNaF 1, but Springtrap dies. I guess Springtrap could be dead in FNaF 1. I guess into the deep lore of the situation. But it looks like we're teasing FNaF 2 right now, and FNaF 2 is a prequel. Scott teased us as if it was a sequel instead of a prequel, but it was a prequel. And I think one of the producers or something has come out to say that the FNaF 2 movie will be a sequel and not a prequel, which I'm looking forward to that a lot, because Mingle is going to be awesome. Everyone's sad that Markiplier didn't make it into this movie, but I think that means there's a higher chance that he will be in the second movie with possibly even a bigger role than anyone got in this one. Because now that this movie's done so well, it's going to have a way higher budget. It should have people hyped for the next one. And FNaF 2 was just the better game than FNaF 1. So I think there's a lot to look forward to there. So there you go. That is my thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Bit of a scene-by-scene breakdown. This video is probably pretty long. Oh well. As for extra theories, I don't really have too much, because it's already pretty obvious that the FNaF 2 teasers and stuff, that's already been broken down by everyone. But I will say there was that one scene with Vanessa and Mike at the river where that house is burned down in the background, which bugs me. It's a very specific, odd detail that they did on purpose, surely. There must be a reason for that, which will have me thinking. But until next time, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, keep the conversation going in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to see more. And until next time, I hope you have a good day.